Today, I want to tell you about the herbalist course that I'm doing.
Yes! Please subscribe!
In my past talks about herbalism, I've covered very vaguely and very broadly how herbalism works. Now, in this course, it covers it in this module, and well, the next two modules for the balance of the course, it covers it in much more detail on how it works. Now, the course has three modules. I've covered the first module, and the second and third module I'm covering in this talk today. So this will be the final sort of talk on this course. Now, in module 2, he covers all the different systems in the body. He covers things like your digestive system, your intestinal system, your circulatory system, the nervous system, and so forth. And he covers it in quite a lot of detail. What he does is he goes through each of the body systems and he explains how they work. Now, as he goes through, he's got lovely little drawings or diagrams on the body and exactly how it works. So he covers the body with all these diagrams and he explains to you how it works. And why is it important to know how the body works? Because when you're trying to fix the body, you have to understand what you're doing to the body. Now, he explains that herbs work through different actions. Now, he doesn't cover the actions very well, but he certainly does cover how the body works. And so putting the action of the herb is something he does cover sort of briefly, but not in a lot of detail. But you know, for me, when I understood how the body works, it was quite easy to understand what I had to do when the body went out of balance or wasn't working properly, what sort of action that I needed. Now, when he covers this thing, he gives you a little diagrams as well. Like, for example, he'll cover the intestinal system here like this. And he'll say, for example, this is the intestinal system, and he'll have little indications or symptoms of what goes wrong in the system. So, for example, here, under the colon, he'll say, for example, you are constipated. And he'll give you a whole lot of indications of what constipated could mean. It could say dry, compact stool, infrequent or difficult elimination, mental sluggishness, and he gives you a whole list. And then he'll go into the different types of constipation. So you'll have that, and then he'll say, but hold on, there's two types of constipation, atonic constipation and spastic constipation. So what is spastic constipation? It's a cramping, explosive bowel movements, irregular bowel movement schedule, stress. And but if that's not yours, but if it's atonic constipation, he'll say it's regular but sluggish elimination, say 2 or 3 days. You go to the toilet and it's thick, gooey consistency. And so then he will give you normally the product, because the product that he wants, the supplements that you need to take. And I think this is where the course falls down, because the course is only designed really to sell the supplements of a certain company. But was that the end of the world? No, because once I knew what the indications were and what they did, I knew what I was looking for. Now, one nice thing about the course is when you go and you click on their products, they will generally tell you what's inside. They don't tell you what the combination, they'll tell you the combination, but they won't tell you what the formula is, how many parts of this or how many parts of that. And so that was one of the downsides. So if you wanted to buy supplements like I did on this burdock root, it's quite easy to, even if you don't buy their products, you can look for similar products elsewhere that do the same sort of thing, but then you're still spending money and buying. So this course is very, very good for if you want to buy, or it certainly qualifies you to be able to sell the products with a good understanding of how the body works. So what did module 3 cover? Well, module 3 covered things like, this is very brief. It was just an introduction to further sort of study. It covers things like water. It tells you that there's fluoride in water. It's got some links to some very prominent scientists that have studied the fluoride in the water and it tells you the dangers of the fluoride in the water and what you can do about it, like getting filters and stuff like this. It'll cover things like meditation and how to meditate. It covers Ayurvedic herbalism, but that's really just a brief introduction. All this module 3 is a very sort of brief introduction. It covers pH balance, and it tells you why it is, and it's got some links to some very good talks on the pH balance, and it's also got links to very good books that you can read in regard to understanding pH and how to measure your pH. It covers homeopathy very, very briefly. Homeopathy is a whole study, as is Ayurvedic herbalism. Is a whole big study. You get degrees on this on their own, and it covers weight management as well. But these are very briefly covered. So anyway, that was the course. Now, what is my final thoughts on the course? Well, I think the course, considering that it was free, it's excellent value for money. Was it worth my time spent studying it is the next thing, I think that I've got to evaluate it with, because time is money. And yes, I do think so. I think I've learned a lot about how the body works, which is all bioscience. I've learned what can certainly affect the body and why it's out of balance. I've learned quite a bit about how our diet and everything that we do, the exercise and everything else that we do, where we live and how we think, is certainly important to our health and our long-term success, and how, when we harvest herbs and stuff, we must stay away from pesticides and stuff like this. So I think from that understanding, especially for a person like me, that if I'm going to dabble with my health and I'm going to try and cure myself, I must have a good, solid foundation, theoretical understanding of how the body works. Because I've also started, I've continued my studies after this, and I've started studying things like herbs. Now, herbs work through different actions of the body, and it's important to understand the action that the herb is doing and what sort of system that herb works, because with a herb you've got lots of different actions, and with an ailment you've got lots of different things that cause that ailment. So you might have a multiple number of herbs that you want to use for one ailment, but likewise one herb might affect a whole lot of ailments. And so it's important to be able to understand what parts of the body they're affecting. And so when you combine the two, for example, I'm trying to think of an example now. I took valerian root one time, and I didn't quite understand what the actions of valerian root were. Now, valerian root helps people with poor circulation, but it also helps for sleep disorder. Now, I was taking it because I couldn't get to sleep. But what they say with valerian root is, if you've got sort of like cold hands and all sorts of stuff like this, or poor circulation to the brain, and that might cause you some sort of anxiety that you can't sleep, valerian root helps increase the circulation to the brain and everywhere else, and therefore give you a better sleep. Now, I didn't have problems with my circulation. My ability not to sleep was something totally unrelated to that. So what I found was valerian root wasn't the herb for me. It didn't do anything. If anything, it increased my blood flow a little too much, and I wasn't really that happy with it. Now, it didn't have any serious side effects or anything else like that. I just realized that it wasn't working, and I had basically wasted my money getting the valerian root. But understanding the body and how it works, and understanding the herb and how it's working on the body, helps you choose the right herb. So from that point of view, I think this course was very, very, very good and very much worth its money, and it's certainly given me a good way to sort of develop my my future studies. And in that regard, what they do is, when they discuss each part of the course or body system, they normally tell you, oh, this can affect sort of things like Alzheimer's disease. So he's got little talks about, he's got a little section on herbs, and he will give you a whole lot of problems that you may have and the remedies next to it. And the remedies are normally referred to in forms of these. You can buy this product to fix this problem. So, for example, he will say for autoimmune disease, you could use blackcurrant oil. Or I'm trying to see another good example. For example, let me have a look here. For cancer, you could use a colon cleanse. For coughs, you could use, or dry coughs, you could use mullein, marshmallow, and fenugreek. And these are normally associated with some sort of combination that he's put onto this. And the other thing I found was the herbs that he was using were from all over the world. Now, that didn't really suit me because I wanted to focus on what's around me, the herbs that I can collect from the surrounding neighborhood or that I could grow in my own garden. But it's certainly given me a strong foundation to continue to study my herbs and to make up my own remedies, because I've got a much better understanding of the body systems and the herbs, how they all work. So yes, I want to thank you for listening. I think this course was really worthwhile, but it doesn't give you a lot of practical advice unless you want to go and buy these yourself. So if you want to make them yourself, I would still study this if you're anything like me, but then you know that you've got your study cut out further to be able to bring it into a practical reality. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.